Transmissions opened the 19th Whistler Film Festival last night. I'm here with Simon Pegg, who starred in the film as a schizophrenic music producer. Now, Simon, you said that you wanted to work on this film because you wanted to work with a female director and it had more serious subject matter. Now tell me, what was different about working with a female director?
It was something that occurred to me when I was reading the script. I realized, I had worked with female directors before, but not on a feature film, and I felt like that was something I needed to put right. Working with Catherine as a human being, she was incredibly diligent and had a wonderfully laid-back energy. I think that was as much to do with the fact that she's from Santa Barbara as it is that she's female. It's hard to put my finger on what the difference is in a way, without sort of reducing both genders to specific characteristics, but it was just really, really interesting to sort of get behind her creative vision and be directed by her. It's all about the process, it's more than it is about gender. It's not like she brings anything different to it because she's a woman. She brings a different thing to the table because she's a different human being to the last director I worked with. But it's, it would be hard for me to say, oh, it's this, But she definitely is. I suppose you could characterize women as being far more sort of instinctive about their own emotions. That's a huge generalization, but it would certainly help in terms of creating a film as emotional as this to be able to access and understand emotion. But then that could be dismissed as me saying women are emotional, which is a thing that men say all the time to kind of belittle women. But no, I think for me it was just getting to work with a different person, and I think you're on shaky ground when you start to try and define people by their gender.
And were you at the screening last night?
I didn't see the movie, but I introduced it into the Q&A afterwards.
Yeah. And did you hear anything different from this audience versus other audiences that have screened the film?
Well, it always inspires conversation and debate, and it's great. When we did the Q&A, there were a lot of questions about the movie, the process, about depicting something as sensitive as this, and how we went about doing it authentically and truthfully. And that always seems to be the case, whether it's at a Polish film festival or here at Whistler. It's a film which really seems to inspire conversation, which is nice.
Yeah, I want to ask about the ending, but the movie's not out. There's not even a trailer out. I hear that it's being released in March, and you have a distributor. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, I think so. We found our US distributor certainly, and that's what these festivals are all about. Really, is sort of identifying the kind of people you want to get the movie out to the people with. So those things are TBD, but I think for a US release will be sort of springtime next year.
Nice. Now, this was Catherine O'Brien's first film as a director. So you like the script, you like the serious role, but how do you have that much faith to go with somebody who's making her directorial debut?
I think it's important. I think you'd be living a fairly sort of bland life if you just went with safe bets the whole time. I really liked Catherine's writing. I really liked, when I spoke to her for the first time, I really liked her sort of ideas, and I, for me as an actor, you want to get in on the ground floor with these people. They're the filmmakers of the future. They're going to be working for a long time, and I thought I really liked Catherine as a person and an artist, and I want to work with her. It's important, I think, to get an idea of people when you sign up for something. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to do something with them because it's their first film, because you have no idea who they are or what their impulses are or their motives. It was after talking to her and getting to understand her and know her a little bit that I felt really, really keen to do this.
Now, you act, you write, you produce. When are you going to make your directorial debut?
Soon, I hope. I had something which I was developing, which I had to then put on the shelf just because of other commitments. I'm producing a number of shows with my production company that I have with Nick Frost, and I'm hoping to maybe direct some episodic television. But my ambition is to direct a feature film. Yeah, I have lots of ideas, and the idea of actually living with a story for a little while, not just dipping into it like you do when you're an actor. Being there for the prep, the shoot, the post. The idea of that really appeals to me. So when I get a moment, I'll do it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about one of those projects called Truth Seekers for Amazon, because I understand that started shooting in September.
Yeah, we wrapped it now. We're watching
yeah.
the rough cuts of it now, yeah.
And so how's that going?
It's going well, yeah. It's a sort of gentle comedy about these paranormal investigators. It's also it's a comedy horror, but that we've measured it so that the comedy doesn't sort of engulf the horror in parody. So we've tried to keep the horror aspect of it faithful, and it's Nick and a couple of other actors playing his sort of team. I have a role in it playing his boss, but it's not like a me and Nick vehicle. It's not like, it's not about me and him doing stuff. It was really fun to shoot it. It was a tough shoot, as it always should be. And what we're seeing back now in the initial cuts is really encouraging.
That one's for Amazon, and you were also on The Boys this year for Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take as a creator, as a filmmaker, on these streaming wars?
Well, it suits us perfectly well. I think the thing about, I guess, the streaming thing is it's a separate thing to theatrical presentation with cinema. For television, it's amazing. It's an emerging and complex argument in terms of cinematic presentation now. I get why Martin Scorsese made The Irishman for Netflix, because he wouldn't have been given the money to make that theatrically now, and possibly more people will see that film than ever would if it had been on at the cinema. The sad thing about that is that what we lose from theatrical cinema is the community experience of watching a film together with a group of strangers. We're becoming more and more insular as human beings, more and more lonely, and as we lose those experiences, that's only going to be exacerbated, And I was talking about this the other day. Big cinema, the science fiction, superheroes, that kind of thing. They're not the reason why theatrical cinema is dwindling. They are a symptom of it. They're because we have to do bigger and more crazy things to bring people in there. Yeah. That's why that kind of cinema has proliferated. And the mid-budget film has almost evaporated, and is now, that's kind of taking place on TV now. A lot of actors are going to television to be in, for want of a better description, more sort of adult content, less kind of spectacular, pure entertainment, more dramatic stuff. That's all happening on TV.
All right, you've got so many things going on, so I'm going to ask you about another one. The Dark Crystal on another streamer, Netflix. Yeah. Now, first of all, do you read reviews for your work ever?
I try not to.
Try not to.
Yeah. I mean, because I think you have to take them all with the same degree of, you have to accept all of them on the same level. You can read a really great one and feel good, but then you read a really bad one and you kind of have to, well, that's there too, Mm-hmm. So it's best just not to read any of them.
That show got great reviews.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to read you some quotes from a more mixed one. NPR, they affectionately called you the star of the series, saying that you were pitch perfect, marvelous, that it's a deeply loving evocation of the late Barry Demon's work in the original films. How did you craft that performance?
Well, I remember leaving the theatre when I was a kid, having watched The Dark Crystal in 1982, and the Chamberlain being the character that really stayed with me, this kind of simpering, Machiavellian, kind of scheming, Shakespearean almost character. And it was an incredible privilege to be given the opportunity to play him myself, It felt like one of those moments that I've had many of, where I found myself involved in something that I loved as a younger person. And so for me it was about, because Barry's characterization was so specific, he had a very, very recognizable sort of whinny, that kind of thing, and I just wanted to get that right. So when Louis Leterrier came over to my house to sort of like have a little chemistry read, I'd kind of been studying the original movie and trying to get the voice right. His character existed already for me. A lot of people taking on the roles in Dark Crystal were coming to the new characters. It's an incredible universe that the guys created for that. I mean, a great example of something that's vast and cinematic, which is taking place on television. But for me, it was like, I have to do Barry, really. And it was important to get that right. And I'm glad they said that.
How long does that take, like doing the voice work on something like that?
Well, it's different to doing animation, because when you're doing animation, you tend to do the voice first, and then the animators take your performance and animate to it. Whereas with Dark Crystal, they shot the entire series first with the puppeteers, all of whom do incredible performances. They do the temporary voice performances, and then you have to kind of match to their articulation. So what we call mouth flaps, which sounds frankly disgusting. You have to match this, you know.
Okay.
So you're watching it and you're trying to speak in the same rhythm as their puppeteering. So it's the harder times, because they'll make decisions that you might not make, and then you have to kind of conjoin with your counterpart, because there is another person giving all the physicality and a very, very integral part of that characterization is done by someone else. You're part of the team. You're the more visible part, because people know you are.
Okay, so you were in the documentary this year, Love Natasha, about Anton Yelchin. It's been nominated for a couple of Critics' Choice Awards. We talked to the director. How did you get involved with that project?
Well, because I'm close with Anton's family, and Irina and Victor Yelchin were just were very keen to have the film made, and I was just kind of there for its sort of its genesis and its execution, and it was very important to me as well, because I loved Anton and I wanted to be part of that. And it's a beautiful film. I was worried when I watched it that it would be very sad, and it is sad because we lost him, but it's also incredibly celebratory and happy, and a celebration of a short but incredibly varied and inspiring life. He was an incredible guy, and the sad thing is he had such promise, and I think Anton would have gone on to be a great filmmaker. He was an auteur in waiting, and I think that one of the many tragedies about losing Anton was, way behind just losing him as a person, but losing him as an artist.
Can you tell me about Star Trek 4? Because it's been through many iterations. Where does it stand now? Are you writing it? Do you have a...
No, I don't know anything about it. I think Noah Hawley's been hired to write something for Star Trek, which is very exciting, because he's a brilliant writer and always creates interesting stuff. Whether or not we're involved in that, I don't know. I don't think so. And I don't think that Noah's thing is necessarily going to be Star Trek 4. I'm talking out of my arse as usual, which gets me into trouble all the time. But we'll see what happens with that. As far as I know, Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek idea is still kind of in the mix. That's down to QT about what he wants to do next. There's some talk of various spin-offs possibly. We'll see. I'm always happy to dip back into that universe. I think it'll be bittersweet for us now to do another one after losing Anton, just because we were very much a family, and it will feel sad. We'll miss him more than we normally do, because he will be conspicuous by his absence. But we'll see what happens.
Alright, so I've been jumping all over the place. We're an Oscar website.
Yeah.
You were finally invited to the Academy a couple of years ago.
I was.
So how are you approaching your Oscar voting, your Oscar viewing this year?
I just try and be as diligent as I possibly can. I always like to, I don't like to do anything uninformed. I want to make sure I've seen as many movies as I can. So in my spare time, when I'm not working, I try and bury myself in all the hopefuls. It's difficult because that requires a lot of time. Yeah. But it's always fun. It's always fun to be sent all these movies to watch. It's kind of heaven to me. I don't have any tips at the moment. I'm not sure, because I haven't done all my movies, but there's been some amazing performances. Often there are things that aren't going to get nominated. Like I thought Toni Collette in Hereditary was clearly an Oscar-winning performance that was never going to get nominated because often genre cinema isn't really considered awards-worthy, which is a shame. But we shall see.
All right. Well, thanks very much,
Thank
Simon.
you. Nice to meet you.